Hi, and welcome to episode 2 of talking about DIY guitar pedals. I enjoyed doing the first episode, and it seems like a few people enjoyed that first episode as well. Obviously, it's a new channel, so I got fewer than 100 views on that, but those, 85, I think, 85 or so people seem to enjoy it. A few likes, a few comments. Thank you. I'm not expecting this would be the biggest channel overnight, but it was really nice, the feedback that I got. So thank you to those guys who had something positive to say. You keep doing that, I'll keep doing this. Episode 2, last episode I talked about some of the tools you need to start getting into building your own guitar pedals at home. Now I want to start to talk about actually how to get started of building your own guitar pedals. This video series is not going to be all just how to get started, these are the tools. I will progress into some heavier topics, but I'm starting a series at the start. So now that you know what tools you need to get started building guitar pedals, what do you do from there? Well, I do have an article on the website, first of all, that I'll link to in the description, so that you can watch this video. And if you want like a list of things with some other resources, go to the website. You can then follow along and start building guitar pedals. Real quick, on last episode, I talked about some of the equipment that you need. Obviously, you need a soldering iron, solder, stuff like that. You need wire cutters, wire strippers. You need components. Like I've got all my components. You need, all your resistors and capacitors and stuff like that you can order online. Watch the last episode to get that full list, as well as the resources that I'm linking to in the description. But from there, you need to decide whether you want to start with PCBs or stripboard for your first builds. So a PCB is a printed circuit board. I have none on hand because I built on a stripboard, but they can be pretty good for beginners. Not in a bad way, but it's like Lego. You get a little printed circuit board and it tells you where to put the components, and you put them in, you solder them in. Very hard to make a mistake. And a lot of the time you can get pretty quick success out of building on a PCB, and it works and it's fun. And if it works really quickly, you're going to keep doing this. So I think that's the main pro of starting with PCBs, is you get that just plug and play. It works. Instructions are clear. Someone is selling you that PCB kit, and they obviously want you to succeed, so they make their instructions pretty clear. I guess the case against a PCB kit is, well, first of all, you can only make what is available in that you can find for the PCB kit. There's a lot of clones out there to make your favorite pedal, which is great, but like if it's a less popular pedal or something like that, you might not be able to find it. So it does restrict your choice. And I think that going for stripboard, you do learn a lot more. You kind of get a bit more of an understanding because it is harder. Not that much harder, but it is, a bit more of a challenge. Stripboard, on the other hand, this is stripboard. So just a spare piece of stripboard I have. So it's kind of plastic on the front. On the back, you can see that there's these strips of copper, which is why it's called stripboard. And basically, if you follow some directions, if you go on my website, I have plenty of stripboard layouts for beginners. I'll link that in the description as well. And you just follow along with the layout. The great thing about stripboard is there's so much choice. I've got a few, or more than a few now, stripboard layouts on my website, and I get those from various resources on the internet and make them and then review them. That's kind of what I do. But there's so many. If you can think of a pedal that you love, you will find a stripboard layout for it somewhere on the internet. Some are harder than others, obviously. Like good beginner ones are little fuzz circuits, like this harmonic jerkulator, going all the way up to this giant thing that I'm building, this chorus pedal. So they get quite big, but you can build anything. And then also I could modify that if I wanted to. This is probably too complex for me to modify, honestly, but if I had the willpower to go through it and really analyze it, then I could modify it. So that's what I like about stripboard, is you get a bit more freedom, and it has that more of a from scratch feeling to it. I don't think that's to say that building on a PCB is not properly building guitar pedals. It's just another way of doing it. I just personally like that from scratchiness, if that's a word, feeling of stripboard, as well as the immense amount of choice that you have building on stripboard. Or you can do both. Some people do both. Some people like to get those PCB kits for a nice quick project, and sometimes they'll do stripboard. There's no perfect answer to that, but if you want to get started, maybe a PCB kit is a better option to quickly get started because you're just following instructions, and then do a few of those and move on to stripboard. That's also very common. I did a couple PCB kits years ago when I first started this, and quickly moved on to stripboard just because I like freedom. But honestly, there's no wrong choice. If you're going to be like me and go with stripboard, hop on my website. I've got a whole section with maybe 6 or 7 good beginner, easy stripboard layouts. I've also got an article on a very simple distortion circuit with the layout. If you don't know how to read stripboard layouts, this just looks like a blank thing, and how do you get from that to this? I have an article that I'll link to that has very step-by-step guide, like this is what this symbol means, this is what this symbol means, this is how you make a cut, this is what a link is, things like that. And it's very, very step-by-step, because it can be a bit daunting, even if it is just a small circuit. So I'll link to that in the description as well. Easy circuit, and once you figure out what everything means, you'll cruise through them, and you can probably make your first 3 or 4 pedals from my easy pedals section on my website, and then move on to something a little bit more complicated, until you're doing this. I just broke. Yay, good job. Other than that, that's my advice on how to get started, where to get started. I guess getting started can be the most daunting thing because these things look complicated, and they're not. Get yourself some tools. Find some kits, like Build Your Own Clone is a good website. I don't make the PCB, so I don't know a lot about good ones, but I've heard good things about Build Your Own Clone. Tata, I think, have some PCBs as well. I think with the PCB kits, depending on where you get them, some sites will just sell you the PCB, and then you have to track down the parts yourself. Some sites will sell you the parts and the PCB together, making it really easy. It's a one-click, and then you've got everything you need. So just double check that from your supplier, whether it's coming with the parts or not, because you might get all excited to be, I'm going to build my first guitar pedal, order the PCB, wait, it comes in a week, and all you got is the chip, and you don't have any parts to build with it. So just double check that. Also double check whether or not it comes with an enclosure. So, obviously you want to put it into an enclosure. And I should have opened this up beforehand, but an enclosure like this is a bigger enclosure. You usually want, for most builds, the 125B style enclosure. This is bigger. I can't even remember what size this is. But like this is a 125B right here. This size will fit in most builds. Make sure it comes with an enclosure, or if you need to order an enclosure, and double check that you are ordering a big enough enclosure. Some of these PCBs are a little bit bigger. As I said, most of them will fit in this 125B, but double check. It will say what the size of the PCB is, and online you can see what the size of a 125B enclosure is, and if it's not going to fit, get the bigger one. Other than that, just get started. Get started with it. It's good fun. But yeah, leave a note or a comment. Tell me what you're building. what that first pedal is, whether it works. Personally, what I'm working on right now, I keep holding this up because I'm quite proud of it. This is the chorus that I mentioned last week. I plugged it in, and guess what? It doesn't work. I'm really annoyed about that because this probably took me a week of work to do, and it doesn't work. Really weird. I'm getting a signal through it. It comes through, but it's not any effect. I've obviously played with the pots, and there's no effect. There's a little trim pot down here that's adjusting some of the volume output, and that's the only thing that seems to be doing anything. I turn it up, and it gets louder. I turn it down, it gets quieter. Other than that, I'm not getting any effect. So it's quite big, so it's going to take, I just set it aside because I'm like, you know what, I've been spending so much time on this. I'm frustrated that it doesn't work. So rather than go straight to try debugging this, I just set it aside. And probably this week I'll go through it and see what's wrong. There's 4 op amps and 6 transistors on here. I think that's the first thing I'm going to check. It's possible that one of the op amps or the transistors isn't working properly. Other than that, who knows? There might be a short circuit somewhere that's just sending the signal straight out without the effect. Who knows? But that's frustrating. It happens to all of us. Really annoying. The other thing I'm working on right now is this is a Proco Rat. Just finished that last night, and it works. Works first time. So I need to box that up, which will be fun. That's probably tonight's job, to box that up. I'm not always as much of a fan of boxing things. I just like to make the circuit, of course. But once I box it, I can play with it. Cool. And then I'm waiting on some parts for my next series of builds. I think I'm going to do a Boss Distortion. I ordered stuff for a Boss Distortion. I'm going to do a Damn Meathead, another easy build for you guys, and a tremolo, I think. Can't remember which tremolo, and then something else. I can't remember. I usually order in batches of 4. It's summer here in Australia, so it's nice to sit in the garage in the evening. We don't have air conditioning, so I sit in the garage with my wife and open the garage door, and it's a lot cooler than being inside. So in the summer, we spend a lot of time out here, and I'll build 10 pedals in the summer. And then as it gets cooler, I'll build fewer pedals, but that's how it is. And then I also want to build a few of these little harmonic jerkulators. These are quick builds, and I've promised them to some friends, and they've been waiting months on them because I've been doing so many new pedals for the website, and I think I'm finally just going to sit down and build like 3 or 4 of these, just build them out because I've got friends who have been waiting quite a while on those. Other than that, here for this channel coming up, I'm going to continue to do this series of talking about DIY guitar pedals, as I mentioned, starting with the basics. Next week, we can talk about choosing your first build. If this isn't enough and you're still not sure, choosing your first build. And then also I am going to start working on some videos outside of this series that are a little bit more in depth. I want to start talking about building a fuzz circuit. So I've got this over here that I breadboarded out. This is just a, electro distortion circuit. That's working. This is the wrong pot for it. So I want to do a tutorial on breadboarding out this electro distortion, and then we can modify it and turn this into a fully functional distortion pedal. And maybe you'll learn a thing or two about, the ins and outs of it. I wouldn't call myself a designer, but I've been doing this for long enough that I know how electro distortion works, and we can go through it and build it out and turn it just from a very simple distortion circuit into something that actually functions like a full featured pedal. So that's what I'm going to be working on outside of this series. But obviously I have a day job, so if I could just sit in my garage all day and record videos for everybody, that'd be great, but I can't. So this is really a Sunday afternoon sort of thing for me. So, I'll have another at least of this series next week. When I get to the bigger tutorial, when I get to it. That's, sorry. Other than that, keep building. Let me know what you're building in the comments. If it is your first build, let me know how it goes. We got one comment from, I think my #1 fan. Thanks, man. He just finished his Greer Green Giant. He said it went really well. I'm really happy to see that. So tell me how you're going. Tell me how your builds are going. If you need any advice, I respond to all comments. Let's see you next week.